Welcome to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. Thank you for tuning in this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday evening. Welcome into The Real. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share, like I said, and shout out to all the new subscribers. We get right to it. We got a great show tonight I'm excited about. Not a long one, but it's going to be real fun and entertaining, I think, because I got some stuff I cannot wait to talk about, give my opinion on. So let's start there. Belichick to Cleveland? So Josina Anderson, if you saw today, put out a report that it looks like the Browns and I think a couple other teams, maybe the Titans and the Falcons, I believe. I could be wrong on the other two, but the Browns for sure. You can see right there in the thumbnail. Bill Belichick has upper level personnel still fond of him in Cleveland, per Josina Anderson. 2 NFL teams have reported expressed interest in speaking with Belichick. So I'm not sure the 2 NFL teams are. But if I had to guess based on that report, maybe the Browns have reached out. Now, I think I have an idea of who in Browns management I think would be interested in Bill Belichick. I think, Bob Quinn, the coaching executive for the Browns, obviously comes from that Belichick tree. I'm sure he is one of those people, if I had to guess. That's just me speculating, so allegedly. But I wouldn't doubt he is, like I said, he is the coaching executive, so I wouldn't doubt if he's one of those upper level management people that is interested in Bill. Now, is everybody else in the building interested in Bill? I don't know about that. Am I interested in Bill? Well, I'd be interested in Bill Belichick if he didn't have this other stuff going on. I might be interested in him then, but him and his 24-year-old girlfriend run around, Jordan Hudson. I don't need Bill and Jordan coming here to Cleveland because stuff that's came out of that about that. I know now she's suing Pablo Torre and all this, and maybe it's not true, but I know a lot of stuff people have heard about it, and we've seen it on tape, on the behind the scenes. It ain't the same Bill. I don't know what Bill this is. This is a different Bill that has completely is not running the show fully. She's running a lot of the show for him, and I just don't think it's a good fit. I don't think that's what we need. We don't need that extra that drama and all that crap. We need somebody that's going to come in here with their own due diligence and their own, mind and their own bring real stability, and not have a bunch of any type of baggage with them off the field or out of the, out of management or whatever. That's not what we need. We need somebody with some stability. So again, if Bill came by himself, I would like it. Now here, I don't question Belichick the coach. I think Belichick the coach is still, he's arguably the greatest coach ever. I think him or Nick Saban in football history. So I'm, Belichick the coach, I have no problem with at all. And I think it would be a cool story in a way if he came back and tried to finish what he wasn't able to finish, back in 95 when they moved. But right now, just the state of where he's at, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's too much because number one, I just be straight up. I don't respect the stuff that's going on. I think it's kind of weird, him and that whole little situation there. And I just think it's not worth bringing here. It hasn't panned out in North Carolina at all, which I'm not surprised by. There's been all that extra drama throughout the year, and just not what some people thought it would be. I thought it would never really pan out well because of all that extra stuff, and it's just kind of what it is now. It's not the same Bill to me. So that's my quick take on it. But again, am I surprised by this report? No. It's a name. I think, like I said, I think I know some certain people in their upper management who have connections to Bill Belichick and Bob Quinn, who's the coach and executive of the team, probably bringing him up. because that's his guy, and probably I'm sure Bill maybe his back channel and see if there's any interest there. But do I think it's real? I'd give it 10% right now. Joining me now is the man, the myth, the legend, the professional fan, Sir Michael Antonese. Mike, what's happening?
Hello.
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 Hello. Sometimes we just go back and forth, folks. Say hello. But Mike, thanks for coming up here for a couple minutes, bud. I appreciate you.
But of course.
So let's get right to it, Mike. Right back to you now. Your thoughts on this report? You heard what I had to say, Mike. I think it wouldn't be a good idea. I don't need Belichick and Jordan coming to Cleveland, but that's just me.
Yeah. I don't have Doc Brown or a DeLorean to go back in fucking time with the flux capacitor to get the Bill Belichick I would want in Cleveland. Whatever amalgamation this is of Bill Belichick, whatever homunculus this is of Bill Belichick, it is not Bill Belichick that I want on the Cleveland Browns. Legendary coach going into the Hall of Fame, but bro's cooked. I don't want this version of Bill Belichick anywhere near the Cleveland Browns. I don't need any more drama. I don't need any more bullshit. I don't need any more like soap opera-esque shit with this team. I've had enough. Like, I just want us to be a regular football team. And unfortunately, Bill Belichick, as he sits today, is weird. Like, he's a weirdo. Like, this stuff with the 24-year-old girlfriend and, like, North Carolina drama, and it's all bad. Like, I don't want this anywhere near the Cleveland Browns at all. Do not want it. Do not want him hired. It's a bad look. I'm putting it at like 0% because hopefully Andrew's not going anywhere, and Andrew's going to be like, nah, little hustler.
Yeah.
I give Saban. Fuck, I took Bill Cowher. I don't know. It has a fully functioning hippocampus, and I'd still call Bill Cowher and pull him from that seat on ESPN. And I'd be like, do you want to coach over Bill Belichick?
I would take Nick Saban over Belichick right now. Here, if it was Belichick in that orange jacket on the screen back in that state, yeah, that was an up and coming coach. I think had a wife, maybe just lived by himself, and seemed like a normal guy, and was a hell of a football mind. If it was that kind of guy, yeah, I'd be all in. But the guy on the left and the hoodie, and who showed up to his 24-year-old's, I think, cheerleading competition today. Looked like a grandfather going to see his granddaughter cheerlead. Yeah, I'm out on that.
Yeah, Bill's just a weirdo now, man.
But I think though, Mike, this is coming from Bob Quinn and some of the people up there that have connections with Bill. That's got to be where it's coming from.
Yeah, but as a job as like a consultant,
I would be stunned if Andrew Berry was interested in this.
Yeah, no, I don't think he is. Now, if he had a job like a consultant, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't in front of any cameras, and like they just ask him his opinions on certain things. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I still think he has stuff to offer there, but like as a coach, no.
I wouldn't want I wouldn't want a consultant role.
All right.
I want zero association with any of that.
And okay, that's fair. I hear it. That's fair.
Nothing. And I think Tony Grossi hit the nail on the head yesterday on the Really Big Show in the morning. You already got a consultant, basically. Nick Saban, who's in Haslam's counsel, make him a consultant. I would just make him a consultant. I think Saban is the ultimate program builder. Saban might be the most pure, in terms of pure like football coach. He might be the greatest ever. I mean, look at this programs this guy built. Look at Alabama. I mean, that guy built a dynasty down there. I mean, I think Nick Saban as a consultant, that's what we need. We need somebody who understands how to build a program, how to build culture, function, stability, foundation. That's what we need. I would go with Saban, or I know Bill Parcells consults with him as well. So he's got two good guys already he consults with. So I think he's fine there. I wouldn't want anything to do with any of that. It's just too much for me. I don't need TMZ and anything associated with the Browns in any capacity at all. For all I know, she could be sitting there telling she might get involved with that even about how to consult. Yeah, I think you guys need to do this and do that. Like, I don't need somebody that doesn't understand the game to tell us what to do or make some scene. It's just too much. It's
Oh,
just
I
too.
agree.
I'm not attacking the person. I don't know her personally or Bill, but look, I mean, all the headlines in North Carolina this year, a lot of it has nothing to do with football. Let's be honest. So
Yeah.
I would just avoid it completely.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Leave that back
And
in
the
the
weird shit they pull with Drake May, like they're not even saying Drake May's name and all this other weird stuff. Like, bro,
yeah, the
it's
guy's one of the hottest names in the league right now.
yeah, he's getting MVP votes. Like, and like,
Yeah,
I don't get it. And he's arguably the greatest quarterback to ever leave your program, like your North Carolina football program. Like, it's not like,
and a big name since Mitch Trubisky, at least like a notable like draft prospect.
yeah, well, that works out
Right,
too.
exactly.
Like, Mitch didn't work out. Local legend. Shout out Mitch Trubisky. Hope
Oh
he's
yeah, I
well
went through
wherever
his
he's at.
locker too. Mitch was a good dude, I know, but
Yeah, but
he was actually a hell of a
no,
player.
no hate on him, but just saying Drake
Didn't
May
work
looks
out in the
like,
NFL. But Drake May looks like a dude.
yeah.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
you just kind of like, I don't know. It's all weird. I don't want it. I don't want the weird here. Hire anybody else. I don't care if they hire somebody. If it's between Belichick and a dude I barely have heard of, like a wide receiver coach from Rice. Like I still think I might
Yeah.
prefer that.
Oh man. Yeah, so you guys can tell we're completely out on that. But moving on. Mike, I still think though we're gonna be looking for a head coach. I think
I
we all
agree.
agree with that. I don't think anything's really changed on that front from our opinion, our perspective, what we've heard and seen and read and everything. It seems like it's trending that direction, right, Mike? I think at the end of the year, I think it's been mutually parting ways to make it look good. But you agree, still Stefanski will not be retained after the season.
I agree, and he shouldn't be because it
Yeah.
has been piss poor. Last week, I wanted them to fire. I kind of talked about this in the little solo recap, but like last week, I would have fired him in the locker room at halftime. The fucking first quarter was the most abysmal, not football, but procedure I've ever seen. It was awful procedurally. The dudes did not look prepared. Shador had the wrong wristband on. They're saying that, oh well, the one card fell out, and it's like, okay,
Nobody saw it laid on the
nobody
sideline.
nobody checked it. Nobody saw it on the sideline. I don't buy that. Like, just the procedure has been so bad, and like here, I didn't think we'd be world beaters, but like Andrew Berry found some great talent in the draft and great offensive talent. You didn't start Shador. Like maybe you start Shador from week 3 and maybe we're not where we're sitting. I'm not saying we're playoff bound, but if you start Shador more of those games, I guarantee you we beat the Jets. We probably beat the Vikings. Like, I mean,
No, I
we
agree.
probably,
I mean, here I didn't get my take on the game, and I'm glad I didn't have to talk about it because
yeah, be glad.
I watched like 3 quarters barely. I threw my phone in at the restaurant because I had a event I had to go cover Sunday night. But you know, I saw in the first quarter the defense give up drives that they haven't given up all year, and that
They give it
told
up.
me. You know what I thought of when I watched it? The effort and just what I was seeing, like just the guys, they just look like they weren't prepared, or they just didn't really give a like I don't wanna say guys quit. And I'm not saying guys quit, but I'm saying that just the intensity just wasn't there defensively, and that screamed to me 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell in the first quarter, like, yeah, these guys are checked out. Like they are. I bet you some guys partying, looking at their film during the week now, like, fuck it, what's the point? We're gonna lose anyways. Like I think guys are just checked out. Make sure they go out there, do their job, don't get hurt, and leave. So it was a disaster Sunday, but I saw 1, 2, 3 Cancun. As far as Shador goes, he had obviously three picks. One of them wasn't his fault to Judy. It was a great throw actually in the bucket, but um, I think Shador, you know, he's still got some learning to do, but he's in a bad situation right now with
Yep.
bad instability. He's still got stuff to work on himself. And the talent around him really just isn't great either, isn't consistent. Outside of Quinshon Judkins and Harold Fannin, they ain't a whole lot of consistency on that offense. Isaiah Bond's starting to come alive, which is good. But, they're a long way to go. They got to rebuild that whole offense around him if that's who they want to roll with going forward. But I mean, I'm with you. I don't think Andrew Berry's going anywhere. Matter of fact, I think Andrew Berry kind of got what he wanted all along. I think where it's heading. I think I said back in the spring that Myles Garrett was in a civil war internally with the Browns when he requested that trade. Well, it turns out Andrew Berry is represented by guess who, Mike? Rich Paul of Clutch
Yeah.
Sports. Guess who represents Myles Garrett? Rich
Rich
Paul of Clutch Sports. Guess who the director of football operations for the Browns is? Tyler Hamlin, who's represented by guess who? Rich Paul of Clutch Sports. And Mr. Hamlin's wife is a big-time executive for Clutch Sports. She runs like a lot of like the coaching and executive. Like she's basically their agent part of Clutch Sports. She's the higher up at Clutch Sports. Just put it like that. She works with a lot of the coaches and executives part of it, who they represent as a company. So that whole trade request thing to me is a little weird now when I found that out this week. But which I kind of where I stood on it all along. That's why I said it was a civil war in Bree at the time. But I don't think Andrew's going anywhere. I think Andrew's very safe there, and I think that they kind of ran some people out of town, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And that's just my opinion. But I mean, hell, I mean, the guy took a freaking job as the third option of the worst franchise in baseball. I mean, just bolted out of town immediately. So, and Kevin Stefanski, now we're seeing reports that Kevin might even just leave. And that tells me a lot that Kevin sees the writing on the wall. And there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between Andrew and Kevin. And I think, there was a report the other day that, Shador's guy said that, that him and Dion really were fond of AB during the whole process. And so I think we're starting to see the truth come out a lot more now, what really happened during that whole offseason last year and all the drama that unfolded up through the draft, before the draft with Miles and everything. So with all that being said, I think Sunday, again, the reason why I think the reason why they haven't fired Kevin is because he's helping them get that draft pick they want. I mean, keeping him there coaching the team and keeping Bubba Ventrone, especially as a special teams coordinator, which is an absolute shit show. It just increases your odds of the higher pick because you're going to lose. So,
oh yeah,
and Kevin's definitely not coming back, because if Kevin was coming back, he would have fired some of these guys on the staff already midseason, which he did in years past, I believe. Didn't he fire some guys already in years past during the season? Am I wrong on that? Or did he do it after the season? Well,
he did it after the season. I don't think he ever fired a coordinator in mid-season.
I don't think he ever did mid-season. No, he did not mid-season. However, and I don't think I don't know if he really fired those guys 2 years ago. That might have been forced on him. But I think as bad as the special teams has been, I know it's this guy, there would have been some change, I think. I feel like he would have fired him if he was coming back.
Right.
But he ain't coming back, so he's not going to fire his buddy. You know what I mean? And the fact that he gave up play calling 2 years in a row, which I thought was not a good look. You do it not once, but 2 years in a row. What does that say about you? To me, it tells me he's not coming back. So he knows it. So we got to, now there are some people out there, Mike, and I'm curious your opinion on this because this went viral today in the Cleveland media space. Mary Kay Cabot was on Ken Carman, the Ken Carman show with Anthony Lima. And you can see you shot the Roberto shenanigans on Twitter. They said, Ken's reaction says it all. Mary Kay comes to Stefanski's defense again by saying he deserves to coach somewhere where he, quote, has a quarterback he can win with. And then you see Ken Carman basically covers his face, Mike, when he hears her say this. I'm not sure what he was saying, but he covers his face. So here's the clip.
So I do think that if he went somewhere else and had a quarterback that he can work with and win with, then I think he's going to be successful. And I think he would be that here too. So if I were making the decision, I would try to give him the quarterback and see what he can do with it. So I just want to make sure that I'm on record as stating that that's how I feel about it. Can work with and win with. And then I think he's going to be
okay. There's a face, Mike, the first time.
Successful. And I think he would be that here too. So if I were making the decision.
And then he's got to
I would try to give him the
Okay, he's got to look. You see Lyman looking at him like, what did she just say?
Yeah.
But
quarterback and see what he can do with it. So I just want to make sure that I'm on record as stating that that's how I feel about that.
Now, I find it odd, Mike. Why is she stating that I had to put it on the record? That's how I feel about that. It almost sounds like everybody knows he's getting canned. But I think some people really just like Kevin personally and are kind of just had to put that on the record. But I thought this clip was hilarious when I saw it, Mike. There you go, right there. I think Ken Carmen's reaction was a lot of ours reactions, Mike, and the respect to Mary Kay. But Mike, he's had Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, and many other guys. I think it's beyond the quarterback play, Mike.
Yeah, it's beyond that. And here's the thing, like, you know, Baker turned, like, he's had a shaky second half of the season, what have you, but Baker's a good enough quarterback to win with. Like, you can win with Baker Mayfield. People have kind of dropped off the he's a top 5 quarterback thing, but you can win with him.
And he didn't like Baker,
Right.
it sounds like. And that's that were in the building, like Stump Mitchell
and here,
didn't jive with him.
My biggest thing with Kevin has always been, like, if you can't deal with big personalities as a head coach of an NFL team, you should not be an NFL head coach. I always thought that, and like the stuff with Shedeur, if it really had to do with just Shedeur's celebrity, he should not have been the head coach. Because it's like, at the end of the day, these are millionaires. Every single one, well, most of them at least, are millionaires. And if they're not a millionaire, they're very successful and they play a sport. You're going to have some dudes that aren't just going to be humble, quiet guys. Everybody can't be Nick Chubb. You know, there's going to be the Odell Beckham Jr.'s. There's going to be the Baker Mayfields. You know, Myles Garrett's more quiet, but he's at least loud with his opinions. Like, you're going to have big personalities. You're going to have the Shedeur Sanders of the world. That's just football. That's just the NFL. You have millionaires that are in front of a camera and play a game professionally. And if you can't handle personalities, if you can't handle that, and that leads to the detriment of your team, you should not be a head coach. You should have no control over personnel. I've always said that. Like, if that was really a reason why Baker left, and if that was a real reason why he didn't start Shedeur early on, he should not be a head coach. I don't see who would hire him if that's the truth, because like, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's your job to play who's best in that position. Like, that's what your job is. Who's the best guy? And obviously this year it was Shedeur. Shedeur has looked better in a smaller sample size than the rest of the guys. And he didn't start earlier. And mostly he's starting behind. Like, this whole season has been a microcosm of the problems with Stefanski. And before, Stefanski was at least competitive with his teams, so you could swallow some of the shortcomings, right? But now the shortcomings have become so big that they're causing detriment to the team at large. He should not be a coach. And I don't think he'll succeed elsewhere. Like, put him in New York with Jackson Dart and have him do play action all the time and tell him not to run or do this, or have him do QB power at the goal line and hurt his shoulder, or do like some crazy shit. Like, yeah, that'll work out. Put him in Tennessee with Cam Ward and that roster. Like, it's not going to work. He's just, and Cam Ward's a vocal guy. Maybe Cam Ward gets like rushed out of there because of Kevin Stefanski's insecurities. Because Cam Ward's very vocal. He went up in front of the freaking press box and said, I'm not going to lie, we're ass this year. We're ass right now. You think Stefanski would put up with that if that's really how he feels? He's just, he has too many shortcomings as a coach.
Jackson Dart, he's not a prune by any means. So, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think he's an outgoing guy, and I think, you know, he got swagger and all that. But here, has Kevin been put in a bad spot here in certain areas? Yes. Did I think Kevin wanted to fire guys in 23? No, I don't. But I think they forced it on him. You know, I think Kevin has been put in bad spots. There is a lot of bullshit Kevin had to put up with ownership and upper management at some points. I give him that. But when it comes to as a head coach, Kevin lacks. He's not an outgoing guy, which you can't be like that as a head coach. He's not very outgoing. He's not very creative, I don't think. And ever since they fired that offensive staff, he hasn't been the team's fallen apart. What makes a great coach is the staff he puts around him. Any coach would tell you that. What makes a great coach is the staff he puts himself around. It's the staff he puts around him. He has not replaced that staff and got it back up to par where it needed to be. Granted, you were replacing Bill Callahan, although they pushed Bill Callahan out pretty much. Bill didn't want. I know, yes, Bill wanted to go coach with his son, but Bill actually could not have left. He had 2 years left on his contract. They just said, "Yeah, get the hell out," because number one, they didn't listen to Bill when he said take Tristan Wirfs over Jedrick Wills back in 2020. And I think they just kind of shoved him out of the door because he wasn't going along with their bullshit. So with the analytics shit that was going on at the time. So, and the whole Watson thing and all that, we all know the thing. I've already been over 100 times. You guys know what it is. But I think Kevin's not very outgoing. And Kevin, it's got to be his way or the highway, it seems like. He's never adapted to any quarterback. I know Stump Mitchell also said we're going to get on the show here soon too. I've already been talking to Stump, but Stump even said too, and we'll ask him about it. He said Kevin never really built an offense around Deshaun Watson that fit Deshaun Watson's skill set. Yes, Deshaun Watson, I don't think mentally was right the whole time he was here because of all the stuff that happened before he got here. But regardless of that, from a football standpoint, Kevin did not build an actual offense that fit Deshaun's skill set. They had Deshaun running an offense that he never ran before, really. And that's not how you maximize a guy you paid $230 million to. They didn't do that. So, and you look how they've kind of just mismanaged a lot of stuff this past offseason. It's the whole thing. It's just been an absolute shit show. It's been too inconsistent. It's been up and down, but he's not very outgoing. And I think Kevin's problem, Mike, is why it's got to be so. It's his way or the highway. He's very analytical. He's been with one organization his whole career before he came here. That was the Minnesota Vikings. How many guys in car business do you know, Mike, that we're not going to name any names, obviously, but a certain company around here that when certain guys come up in that company for a long time, they get indoctrinated into that company and they don't ever really change. All they know is that company's name, way. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so, and there's a couple of those around here, but I think that's kind of what Kevin is. He's one of those guys that came from that kind of company, like was in the car business. Mike knows my New Jersey works in that, and a lot of guys, but he's one of those guys that kind of went to the same company, came up in that, was indoctrinated in that all those years, and he won't ever abandon it.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Kevin can't adapt to me.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know any other way to do it, which is a problem too.
Exactly. And he hasn't been able to really build a coaching staff since they've let those guys go. He hasn't really been able to build it back up in 2 years, honestly. I mean, the offensive staff's still kind of like up and down. He hired Bubba Ventrone. That's been an absolute disaster. That's his buddy, though. So he's also the associate head coach. So obviously they're great friends. But, he just doesn't. I think Kevin could be a really good coordinator somewhere else. Honestly, if I'm Kevin for a year, I would really consider taking a year off and kind of rethinking how am I coaching and everything, and maybe trying to evolve and, consulting with people and stuff like that. Maybe then he can come back and be a new and improved Kevin. I think he can. But, this whole thing, and we're seeing now from the media, Mike, about like stuff like this and other stuff, saying how great Kevin is. He's going to get a job immediately. And all these people I hear are just people that really like Kevin. They think he's a great guy, which I'm sure he is. Nice family man. But either they really like him or they have the same agent with him. I've noticed there's some people out in the national media who have seen they have the same agent as Kevin Stefanski and have already been out, lobbying him from jobs while he's still under contract for the Browns, which is kind of hard.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I don't get a lot of this stuff personally, or they're just analytic. They relate to him because the analytics side of it. So, and it's like this fantasy football mindset I see nowadays. People are all week. Well, if Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen was on the Browns, they'd be an 8-win team right now. And it's like, no, they wouldn't. The offensive line's still shit. The receivers are still inconsistent, not good. The special teams fucking blows. I mean, you can't change all the other stuff. It's not just a one-man show. Like Pat,
right?
How good is Pat Mahomes? How effective has Pat Mahomes been the last 2 years, or really this year, especially Look at this year alone with a roster that is old and needs retooled. How's that help Pat Mahomes?
Exactly. They're out of the
Nothing.
playoffs, and he
And
had
now,
to do so
and now
much. Now he tore his Achilles.
yeah, now he's out for probably all next year. I mean, he could possibly be back by week 1 physically, but I don't know if they'll let him out there. But now his whole career might be on because that was a pretty bad injury. And prayers up to Pat Mahomes. Love Pat Mahomes, good dude and all time great. But I mean, look what happened. But he couldn't elevate that team. And I would say that Chiefs team probably offensively is still better than the Browns offense.
Oh, easily.
You know what I mean? Like they're still a better team than the Browns, and this is a down year for them. So that whole argument to me is out the window. That stuff to me is fantasy football mindset. No disrespect, but people that just don't understand how to build what football is really all about. Like, if you got to really go to a high school level, go to a great high school program around here, and just study how they build their programs, and you'll kind of learn a lot of the basics. I think that's what people really don't understand. You can't just plug and play and act like it's going to work. We tried that. We tried paying a guy $230 million because thinking, oh, we'll just plug him into here and it'll work. Well, no, you plugged him in a system that didn't work. You clearly didn't go through your background check clearly enough when you interviewed the guy because he wasn't right when he was here, confidence-wise. A lot of that stuff. So, to me, it's over with, Mike. Time to move on and time to find somebody else, Mike. But who will that be?
There's many options out there. Many options. Oh, you want me to read this?
Oh, go ahead.
Question. I've heard several Cleveland Browns faithfuls say Shedeur has taken a step back. What is the real expectation of the O-line and wide receiver core? Both rank number 32 in the league. He's not a magician. And that's a good question. Thank you for the question, Marie. Me and Joseph have kind of more or less talked on this a little bit. It's a really hard thing to answer because really there's not a good answer for it. It's actually kind of a debate right now in a lot of different Brown circles because it's like, while Shedeur is showing some good things, he's also showing some bad, but what can you expect of a rookie quarterback starting in the second half of the season when the supporting cast is so bad and even its good parts of the offense are all rookies? I mean, the best players on offense outside of, if you take Shedeur out of the equation as a rookie quarterback, your best players on offense right now are Quinshon Judkins, rookie running back, Harold Fannin Jr., rookie tight end, and all of a sudden, Isaiah Bond, rookie undrafted free agent. So it's kind of a hard question to answer. I really don't know what to expect, and that's really kind of a problem. And what's kind of garnering these questions of, do the Browns move forward with Shedeur as a starter next year and build around him, or do they, if they get a high enough pick and certain quarterbacks come out, do they draft somebody? It's really a interesting debate because there's not a good answer for it right now. I'm sorry, I know that's not like a complete answer to your question, but like it's a quandary that everybody's kind of throwing around that there's not like a definitive answer for yet.
I think he's kind of in the same boat Baker was in his rookie year. Baker Mayfield came in that Thursday night game, Mike, and lit the world on fire. And you look at his stats, I got it right here. He threw for 17 to 23, 73% completion percentage, 200 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. He caught that touchdown. I was in that 2-point conversion, but the next week after that, Mike, he was only 51% completion percentage, threw 2 touchdowns and 2 picks for 295 yards. They lost to the Oakland Raiders. Came back against the Baltimore Ravens, threw it 342 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. Came back against the Chargers, and then they lost that game. 47% completion percentage, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And then he played the Bucks. I think they beat the Bucks that year. I could be wrong on that. No, they lost to that Bucks that year, but he played well that game. And then they lost to Pittsburgh, and he was 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he had like he had 6 picks before they fired Hugh Jackson. And but notice the trend. 1 week he was good, the next week he was bad. The next one, you're right, not as good. You're right. He was very 50-50. It wasn't until he got a good coach. They got out, or I'll say good coach, but they got rid of Hugh Jackson, right? And they put in Greg Williams, and they put Freddie Kitchens in as OC, and he clicked with Freddie. Then what happened after that, Mike? He took off.
Yeah.
and they didn't look back. I mean, he took off next week. I mean, the weeks after that. I mean, the one game he threw for at Houston, 397 yards. But he threw three picks in that game. Damn. But but I mean, he was a lot better as that season went on, right? So I think he's kind of in the same boat a little bit in terms of he's dealing with that coaching, inconsistent, and then he's also dealing with just the play around him too. Like he doesn't have good pieces offensively. That's not a good structure and environment for it's not for any rookie quarterback to build. I don't care if it's Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, Shador Sanders. Gerg says this all the time. No matter what quarterback you put in here right now in this current structure with the coaching and stuff and the talent around him offensively, they're not going to really progress how you want them to fully because it's just not going to happen. We can't expect this kid to come in here and, I'm not saying I agree with this, but according to a lot of people's eyes in the NFL, apparently he was a 5th round pick. So, I mean, we're asking this kid to come in here and be Superman, and it's just not going to happen right now. What I'm looking for is leadership, intangibles, right? Is he elevating the play of guys around him? Is he making plays, NFL throws? Is he pushing the ball down the field? Is he trying to make stuff happen? I've seen a little bit of everything of that. So I see stuff that I think you can work with moving forward if you don't want to take a quarterback. Because I think he's a guy, if you say, okay, sure, you're the guy coming back next year, but they're already putting out stuff. I don't know, but we'll see what's true or not because we got to figure out who's the coach first and all that. But, a competition with Deshaun Watson, or we're going to take a 1st round pick or, a quarterback. I mean, that's not good either. They need to just make up their damn mind and say that you're our guy and then stick with him. And so that guy feels good too and feels comfortable and feels like he has a home and he will be 100% committed to you and because you're 100% committed to him. And that's how you get the best out of somebody. So I can't ask a lot on the kid because I don't have high expectations for the people who are making decisions right now and what they're doing, because I don't believe in what they're doing right now with people in charge because it's nothing but a shit show. So, yeah, did he take a step back last week compared to Tennessee? Yeah. But is he the reason they lost the game though?
No.
He's not. So he's not the reason they lost the game. And I would say, compared to the other quarterbacks we had play this year, especially Gabriel, if he didn't play in the Raiders game, if he didn't play, well, maybe not the Raiders game, if he didn't play in the Tennessee game, we might have been in that game at the end of the game. And I think we lost that game purely off coaching, bad coaching decisions.
Yeah.
So, did you see number 68 not block when every play? Shador showed everything that you could look for. Listen to all those fear-mongering takes saying they are taking a quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend on who's in charge, who's the coach, and that's what we're going to get to next. So let's get to it real quick, Mike. We're going to do a little game here. Who do you like? Who do you like? So we're going to go through a list of coaching candidates here that I put together that I think are realistic, and some are a little bit of wild cards, but I think could be brought up in this offseason. So let's start with number 1, Mike. You ready?
Yep.
Number 1, Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees, the current offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. It was recently written in an article by Mary Kay Cabot last week that nobody really reacted to, by the way, except for us. You heard it here first. That they view him as like a Kevin O'Connell type of guy, basically. You heard quotes from 2 guys, Chad O'Shea and Mike's favorite, Mike Bloomgren on the staff, talking about how he's a leadership already behind the scenes. And you have seen a difference in the offense, Mike, with Tommy Rees, I think, in the games he's been there. Obviously, last week was a rough week, but I think overall Tommy's done a nice job. I know people that know Tommy, and they speak very highly of him. They say he's a dude in the coaching industry, and they think he could become a really good head coach one day. Tommy Rees, Mike, what's your thoughts?
I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense to get a good young coach like that, promote him before he gets stolen away by a different franchise or even a college team. I think it would make a lot of sense. He's already in-house, so there isn't like that huge kind of like turnover period that you usually see. Tommy Rees, Nick Saban, protege, the only dude who actually like stood by Shador and thinks that Shador's a guy. So I like Tommy.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tommy, there's not a whole lot of Tommy's really been able to really change. I mean, the only thing Tommy's been able to do is build. He's been able to progress off of base plays they already have in their system. But this is not Tommy Reese's team. This is not Tommy Reese's prime real offense either. At all. So, well, I don't know what a Tommy Reese team would look like. And we know what Nick Saban said about him in the past. You know, I know what people have said about him. It would be a reach, probably a lot of people's eyes nationally, because how young he is, and it's his first year as an offensive coordinator. But he's probably going to get a head coaching job either in college next year, or if they really think he's a guy, because in that article Mary Kay mentioned, they put him in the same breath as Kevin O'Connell, which she wrote that article almost 2 weeks ago now, and they said they don't want to let a guy out like that ever again, and they want to keep Tommy in house however they can, but he ain't staying if you bring another coach, and you're not going to fire Kevin and bring another coach and say, hey, you got to keep Tommy Reese, because what if that coach wants his own guy? That's the same reality. So it comes across like they're considering him as a head coaching candidate. Interesting stuff. I think Tommy has the capabilities to do it. Is he ready? I don't know. But that's from my perspective. I don't trust nothing from Tommy Reese after he said he's there for Stefanski and he's there. Let him go with his buddy.
I mean, he can't throw his coach under the bus in front of the media.
There's nothing else he's gonna say. Tommy was a dude before. He didn't need to go to the Browns.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that. Tommy Reese was already a guy up and coming in college and in the really all around the coaching ranks. I know a couple of them that are in the ranks that know him, or are in the coaching world that know about him. He was already a guy before he came here. So I don't really care about all that. That's just coaching. That's like Mike said, that's just PR. Jesse Minter, Mike. Jesse Minter right now is a DC of the LA Chargers. Jesse Minter was with John Harbaugh with the Ravens for a while. Then he went obviously to Michigan with Connor Stallions and Jim Harbaugh. And now he's with the like I said, the DC of the Chargers. I think Jesse Minter, Mike, is fascinating. He comes from a Harbaugh tree, obviously. I think he understands program building. I think he understands the culture. Because he was part of some good ones. I like his pedigree. I've done more research on him. I've watched videos of him coaching, mic'd up and stuff, and I like him a lot. He's a defensive guy, so you won't have to worry about him trying to call offensive plays during a game as a head coach. I think he's a guy who will just manage one side of the ball and leave it at that. I think he would be kind of like a general Mike, kind of like Harbaugh, and I think there's probably a lot of good intangibles he's inherited. I think Jesse's a fascinating candidate, Mike, and somebody I'd be intrigued with, and I'd like to kind of see how that process, if I was interviewing him, I want to get to know him more and kind of see what his process would be like, what his ideas are for building a culture. But your thoughts on Jesse Minter?
Yeah, I think he's, like you said, an interesting candidate. From the Harbaugh tree, I'd been a couple different places with the Ravens and all, and I think he comes from a good coaching tree. I think it would be definitely worth an interview. Not my favorite candidate, just because with defensive-minded coaches, you start to worry about losing like somebody like a Jim Schwartz, or like the scheme goes a little bit different, or finding the right OC then becomes incredibly important. But it definitely worth an interview.
Yeah, and I was just joking about the Stallions, but that was I threw a little joke in there. But anyway, but no, I mean, I think Jesse Minter is a good football coach. I think he's got a lot of good pedigree, like I said. I think he's somebody I've really been fascinated with. I mean, I'd be interested with him. Jeff Hafley. Now, Jeff Hafley's the DC of the Green Bay Packers. I remember Hafley back when he was a DC at Ohio State in 19. They had a great team that year with Chase Young and Okuda defense leading the way, and Fields on offense with Olave. But Jeff Hafley's interesting. He already has head coaching experience at Boston College, so he has that experience. He's been with the Packers. They built a pretty decent defense over there for the last couple of years. Obviously got Micah Parsons this year, kind of elevated. Hafley's interesting. Another guy, again, I would have to get to know a little more of, but I think he has, again, some good pedigree. His history. I've seen him put together really good defensive units in the past. He has head coaching experience at the college level. He's been around some good programs like the Packers and Ohio State. So he's another interesting guy. Probably has a lot of good, like, it's like, if you're in a kitchen, you have a lot of good ingredients out, right? But how do you kind of
Yeah.
blend it all? Is it the right? How do I blend the right stuff together for what I want to really make? What sounds good? What fits what I want? What fits what we need? That's what it's going to come down to. But he's a guy I definitely would interview. I'm interested in him.
Yeah, he's not my favorite coaching candidate personally, just because I think there are very much stronger candidates out there. But I definitely worth an interview. And with his work with the Packers has been pretty impressive, especially how bad that defense was before he got there.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot in his bag that looks good. So, let's see. Okay, let me go to my next one here. Now, this next one is Matt Nagy.
No.
Mike's already given his answer. No, but Matt Nagy obviously is the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Matt Nagy has head coaching experience at was it Chicago Bears? Yeah. With the Bears, didn't go well there. Obviously the intrigue with Nagy is because he's an Andy Reid guy. He's an offensive mind. But I'll be honest, Mike. A lot of these Andy Reid guys, like Matt Nagy, to me, I feel like it's just because you were in the same air in the same building as one guy doesn't mean you're going to be that guy.
Yeah,
and I feel like that might be what Matt Nagy is. I could be wrong. Sometimes we've seen guys get second chances after their first gig didn't go well, and they did better. But to me, I get with Matt Nagy, I get the vibe he's just a Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is the same thing with Bill Belichick. He's a Belichick offensive guy, and everybody thought, well, we'll just hire him. I feel like Nagy's like that of the Reid tree. He's the Josh McDaniels of the Andy Reid tree. And, I know, like, I've heard people joke around, like, yeah, you get his coffee and his donuts every morning. Oh, you're hired because you just, you're in the same air as Andy Reid. Like, I'm out on that Matt Nagy. Would I, maybe talk to his agent, see what he thinks? Is he improved? I would back channel with other coaches in Kansas City and stuff, people that know him, and see what they think about him now. But probably not. And honestly, Mike, I'm not looking for a guy. I don't think we need an offensive-minded guy to come in here and try to instill his offense and try to call plays as a head coach. We need a program builder and a culture builder, and I just don't see that with it. To me, I think he's McDaniels of the Andy Reid tree.
Yeah, he's an FC, which means forever coordinator.
All right. That's all Mike's got on Matt Nagy. But Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Broncos. His name's been brought up a lot. Vance Joseph has past experience head coaching wise, I believe, right? Yeah, he does. Another, I don't know, Mike. I like that he's been under Sean Payton. I think maybe if there's one guy that can maybe revitalize his head coach career, maybe it's Vance Joseph, because I think he's a guy who's kind of went, under some good coaches, and could he be the Mike Brown of the NBA or the NFL? I think he could. I think he could maybe be the Mike Brown of the NFL. Obviously, Mike Brown was a guy a lot of people gave up on when he got fired from, I think, Sacramento. Then he went to Golden State, under Steve Kerr. And then he went to Sacramento. Then Sacramento kind of did him dirty. And then he now has a job with the Knicks. And Mike Brown was like a very good head coach again, and he obviously had to run with the Cavs back in the day. I think he could be that. There's a lot I like about him when you read his background and stuff. He comes from he's been coaching a long time, and he was the head coach of the Broncos back in 17 and 18. So it's kind of funny he's back there now as DC. But so he was a head coach there for 1 year. Was with the Cardinals from 19 to 22. He's a guy I'd give him an interview. I'd give him an interview, Mike.
I agree. I'd give him an interview.
I think if there's one guy that maybe could do it again, maybe it's him. I mean, that Broncos culture right now, that team is really good. I mean, they got a great culture, a really good team, good stability. Again, he's been with Sean Payton and John Elway. I think maybe he could do it. I think he could be the Mike Brown of the NFL.
I agree. I think he'd be worth an interview. That's a good comparison. I don't even really have anything to add to that. That was a really good analogy.
Appreciate it. I tried. But next on the list, going to college now. Stuff. Okay, Mike's already gave his answer. Next, but no, here we're gonna get some college coach tonight. It's a little wild card section. I'm just bringing up names who I think are linked to the Browns and have been reportedly linked to the Browns, and I think they may consider. Steve Sarkisian, head coach of Texas. He coached Arch Manning this year. Didn't go as great as everybody thought it would. It was a down year for Texas. They didn't make the playoffs like they probably should have, because they had a really talented team. But Arch didn't really progress a lot this year like people thought. People in the chat agree with you, Mike, not Sark. But anyways, Sarkisian has a connection with Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, because they have the same agent, Jimmy Sexton. And I brought Sarkisian's name up, Mike, remember back in August, because I said when that report came out that turned out to be bogus. But we all figured out the connections, though, with Haslam Circle, with Jimmy Sexton, right? And then just all his clients. That's one of his clients. And the last two clients for the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, Freddie Kitchens, were both represented by Jimmy Sexton. So CAA has a big influence on this team, I think. So it's Clutch Sports now. But anyways, I think it's a name it'll be brought up. I think Sarkisian will try to get back to the NFL, Mike. I know people that I've heard from people that know him, who've said it publicly on record on their shows that they think he will too. I could see him trying to make a jump. Obviously, he was with the Falcons back in the day. I think when they went to the Super Bowl, wasn't he there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has NFL experience, pedigree. He has a very good offensive mind. I will say, as a play caller, Sarkisian is one of the best play callers probably in football. He's a very good play caller.
Down year this year.
He had a down year this year, but he's always been a very damn good offensive coach. But would I bring him? I don't think this is the right time to do it. Now maybe
I agree.
Maybe he's. I think this year. I think he was. I wouldn't be surprised if he is looking ahead a little bit. To trying to get to the NFL after the season. Maybe that's why they kind of had a down year a little bit. Not saying he did anything, can the season or anything. But if he did lead Texas, though, I would say I would throw Lincoln Riley's name out there right now to take that job. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. But anyways, I don't know. I wouldn't call him Mike, but I'm sure Haslam may talk to him because of the connection.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll call Haslam. I'm out on Sark right now. He's a great scheme developer. Like, his offensive schemes make sense. His situational play calling, especially this year, have been awful. Among the worst I've seen. And it's as much
not an ideal time to bring him in.
Yeah. It's just at the moment, no. He needs, I don't know. He needs to reassess himself and get some more people and opinions around him. Maybe then he'll be all right.
Sark struggled this year. I think he would bring a good culture. Okay, then maybe. Yeah, I think he knows how to build a program. Here, he brought Texas up back to their elite level. You know what I mean? Like, Texas is a program now that should be a contender every year, but as they should have always been. So I think it was just a down year. I think Sark can become an NFL head coach one day. I think he can.
One day.
I just don't know if right now is the right time after this year. The Browns can't really piss around with that. You know what I mean? I just think it's the right time for that. Next on the list, another head coach, college-wise, Marcus Freeman. Marcus' name has been brought up a lot. One of my dear friends who's been on the show before was recruited by Marcus Freeman, so played for him. But Marcus is an excellent football coach, no doubt about it. A lot of guys that play for Marcus love Marcus Freeman. They love playing for him. He gets guys up to play. He's a hell of a motivator, a leader, I think. He runs a very good program, very top notch. He understands culture and all that stuff and accountability. I don't know if he's ready to take the leap yet, honestly. I think one day he will. I think he could be the Mike Tomlin one day, really. But I don't think right now is the time. I think he'll get a call, though, from somebody. Not saying it's the Browns, but I think he'll get a call. I don't think, though, he's going to be at Notre Dame down the road longer. I think there's another job in college he might already have his eyes on that he knows he can get one day. I'm not going to point that out yet, but I don't see it, Mike. But I think he has all the intangibles to become one day. He's a hell of a coach. I like Marcus a lot. But I want to see Marcus go to a program. I feel like at Notre Dame he's kind of maxed out. Like he made it to national championship last year, and I think that's when he maxed out.
Yeah.
And he ran into a team at Ohio State that just was more money, a more expensive roster, more talented, and they couldn't really do anything about it. Like I think he's done the best he can at Notre Dame. So I think now it's time for him to maybe try to get to like an Ohio State, let's say, or somewhere down the road if it ever became available, and see what he could do there. Then if he wins there, then take him from there to the NFL. But ultimately, if an owner sits down with this guy and feels like, hey, I got the next Mike Tomlin, let's say here, and they feel like they can hire him, then they might pull the trigger on him, because teams nowadays like to get ahead of it before it's too late.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, here I agree with every point you made. I think he's going to be a great head coach one day. I don't know if it's right now. I don't know if the Browns should even like give him an interview per se yet. But I think the Mike Tomlin comparison is very fair. But I think it's still too early, like you said. I think he needs another couple years under his belt. Maybe at a different program too, before people start seriously looking at him as a head coach.
And then last but not least is Ryan Day. Ryan Day, the defending national champion head coach, was in the NFL for a while, or not for a while, but he had a couple of stints in the NFL with the 49ers and with the Philly, I believe, with Chip Kelly. So he has NFL experience. NFL ties obviously heavy. He's done it. Obviously one of the best offenses and programs really in all just the entire sport right now. He's developed. Ohio State to me is one of the highest levels I've ever seen it, just culturally and just what he's got going right now. Beat Michigan, obviously had the tough loss to Indiana, but he told Urban Meyer he's not really worried about it. He thinks it's a good thing. So we saw what he did last year when they lost to Michigan and everything. People wanted to ready to fire him and run him out of town, and he turned that team around and saved that season. And I think his leadership really showed in that. He had a team meeting with the guys, and they really had a heart-to-heart with them, and he really took accountability and made changes that needed to be changed, and they went on to win the whole thing. So he gets a lot of credit for that, obviously. So
right,
and they didn't really quit on him either, obviously. So I think Ryan Day can be an NFL head coach. I know people that know Ryan very, very, very well. Just leave it at that. That have told me for a long time that he would be an NFL coach one day. That's his goal, is to go to the NFL still. So I think it's just a matter of when. He won the national championship. He's won Big Ten titles already. That didn't really matter. He beat Michigan finally. When's he going to make the jump? I don't know. His son right now is a senior in high school at DeSales. Will be a senior next year in high school at DeSales. Is also a 3-star prospect with a lot of MAC offers, Boston College, Cincinnati. So let's say he went to the Browns, I think there's a lot that comes into it personally. Obviously he did sign the extension back in February. I do believe though, if he left there now, he would have to pay back $4 million only, or $4 to 6. It's either $4 or $6 million, but he'll make that back up in his deal with the NFL team he signs. We'll say it's the Browns. So if he wanted to do that, he could bring Matt Patricia with him too, probably as his DC.
right.
I think part of the reason why Brian Hartline left, because I think Brian Hartline knew he wasn't going to get this job here. Now, that's either one of two ways, because he knew he wasn't getting the job here anytime soon, or because he knew he wasn't going to get it in general. And maybe they already got somebody else in mind, maybe Marcus Freeman. I don't know. But I think I wouldn't doubt if they call him. I think there's been some, Ryan Day appeared on the Siciliano podcast on the Browns channel back in the spring, talking about draft stuff and all that. And, I think there's connections he has probably with the Browns through certain people in the front office and stuff like that. Obviously, Clutch Sports, LeBron, they got a great relationship with Ohio State. I'm sure that he has connections there. And, I think he's a CAA representative as well. I think in terms of all the college coaches making a jump to the NFL, I think he's probably the most suited right now, and the most one, probably the one you can really sell to your fan base the most. He's been able to develop quarterbacks, build offenses, and stability and culture, explosive offenses as well. Not just they put up a lot of points. He's a hell of a mind. I think he's a great leader. Just a good dude overall, great family man. But I think there's a lot that's going to go into this. Again, his son's going to be a senior next year. Does he want to wait till his son graduates high school, then maybe move in 27, possibly? He's also got Sayan and Jeremiah Smith for one more year or two, so I don't know if he wants to leave that yet. There's a lot that's going to go into this. I think the Browns would have to really sell him. But your thoughts on Ryan Day, Mike?
I think Ryan Day would be the best option if you wanted to grab a quarterback. Oh my God, my brain. Grab a coach from college and promote him, get him into the NFL. I think Ryan Day is your best option. I think he would provide the most success as a program builder, as somebody who can.
I think Mike cut out.
Collegiate coaches go. Ryan Day is my favorite candidate, but like you said, there's gonna be a lot that goes into it if in fact he would entertain it.
Yeah, I do think he will make the jump one day. It's just a matter of when.
Right.
Honestly, from his personal standpoint and just the logistics and where Ohio State is personally right now, I think the earliest I think he could leave would be next year in 27. Because I just, I thought about this really a lot the last couple of days. I think if he did leave, that makes more sense. I don't think he's going to leave his son, make his son, it's a senior year of his high school, and his team went deep in the playoffs this year too, lost to Massillon, but he's got Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sayin back for one more year. Like, I don't think it's going to be right now.
Right.
I think he'll wait till next year at the earliest. So, but I do think he will make the jump one day. That's for sure. That's always been his long-term goal. And he should. I think he deserves that right. I think he should. I think he can do it too. But at all these candidates, Mike, we went over tonight. Again, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, Vance Joseph, Matt Nagy. Then we went with Jeff Hafley, Jesse Minter, Tommy Rees, Bill Belichick. Which one, Mike, out of all of these do you think is the most realistic and the one you would go with right now?
Most realistic, and the one I'd go with is probably Tommy Rees. I know it's going to seem crazy, especially to some, given the state of the Browns overall, but with him and his mind, and I think giving him full control, it's going to be a different modus operandi in Cleveland than what you've seen. I think it's going to be very, very different if he were to take the reins and actually have full control over this football team. I think it would actually end up being the best case scenario, and it's most certainly obviously the most realistic because he's already in the building. But I'd say Tommy Rees personally.
I agree with you. I think Tommy's going to be the guy they pick as of right now. That's subject to change when I get more information. But when Mary Kay put out the article last week, it just seemed like they're warming it up. And the way they put that out, nobody really reacted to that too, Mike. I don't understand why, but that to me, that article said a lot. But I just think he's already in house. If he hits as a head coach, it's a big splash because I think he could be a guy that could be a star with all the intangibles he has and the skill and the raw talent they're coaching wise that I know about him. And I want to see, and I think his program would be a lot different than how it's ran right now. A lot different. This is a guy who was under Saban, with Notre Dame. He's been under a lot of good coaching trees. I think it would be a little different with him in charge. And is he ready is the question, but I think it's a name. I think he'll come down. I think he'll come down to probably the top 1 to 2, or not one. Excuse me, the top 2 to 3 candidates. I think they'll consider. She said, keeping Tommy Rees, wouldn't it be more of the same that's currently going on with the Browns? I don't think so, because this isn't Tommy Rees's team. This is Kevin Stefanski's team. Every coach does this differently. You got to remember, I think people got to remember too, a lot of coaches get that next in line role because they know they can get the job. They're just going along, they just go along to get along and do their job as OC, or like in the NBA a lot of times, the guy who's second in line on the bench next to the coach, a lot of those guys are actually taking those jobs because they know, okay, this guy's going to get fired if he F's up, and I guess who's going to get the job? Me, and I can do it my way. We saw in Cleveland with Tyronn Lue, and when LeBron came back to Cleveland, it was Tyronn Lue and David Blatt. Tyronn Lue spoke very highly of David Blatt. said all the right things, but he knew all along he was getting that job because he knew Blatt was going to get ran out, and then he took over and they won a championship. So, and it was Ty Lue's team was a lot different than David Blatt's team in a lot of ways. So, I think every coach has their own philosophy how they do it. Some similarities, but I think it would be his way. It'd be a whole reset. It'd be a whole reset. And the biggest thing too is, Dee Podesta's not in Cleveland after this season. That's the biggest one I had to go. The analytics guy, he's out of here. He already left. Kevin Stefanski was very analytical. He would leave. Obviously, he wouldn't be the coach anymore. So there'd be a lot of change, and you'd have different personnel offensively too through the draft and free agency and trade. So it would be a different team. I think Tommy can do it. I think for me, if I had to pick right now, Mike, of who I think is realistic and who I would go after, I would go after Tom. Well, Tommy's right in the building. I would consider Tommy. I would go after Jesse Minter, and I'd probably give Vance Joseph a call.
Yeah,
and that'd be my 3 right now.
Yeah,
and I think if I have Tommy Rees, what I would do, if Nick Saban, his relationship with Jimmy Haslam, I would have Nick Saban consult. I would even have Nick Saban. I would say, hey, Nick, do you want to be the president? And I would offer him that job. And I would put Nick back with Tommy, who he hired at Alabama as his OC, have Andrew at GM, and that's how I would do it. If I could, if it was my way. But I would definitely have Saban consult on the hire. If Saban signs off on Tommy Rees, then there you go.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, and I think that's a pretty good assessment.
And it's fine because I would bring back Tommy Rees, and if I feel good about Shador when the season's officially over, I bring him back, and I just roll him back next year. Because guess what? If it doesn't work, you come back in 27, you got a loaded quarterback class in 27. And you probably have more head coaches available too.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a next year where they can kind of like see if it works. If it hits, great. So that's how I think it would be. And really, there's not really a whole lot of other coaching candidates out there right now, Mike, that are like, a lot of names they brought up to, they're not like, a lot of guys are retreads. There's no like, you're always looking for the guy that's your guy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like the Lakers found they went for JJ Redick because they want to find somebody different who they think is the next Pat Riley. You know what I mean? They got to think outside the box. I think that's what kind of Tommy is to a lot of people. I think he's a guy and I think they see him every day. They get to know him well. I've gotten to know him well. I think he's a guy they see as like, maybe we can get this guy and he'll be our version of Kevin O'Connell or whatever.
Right. And I think that's a very fair assessment of him, giving his like experience, who he's learned under. I'd be curious to see what it looks like with him actually running the team.
I agree. And I think he's actually done well with Shador. I think Shador likes him too. I think when you watch back in training camp, they were the two that really were talking the most out there. He was the one really worked with Shador the most. So I'd be interested for sure. It's going to be interesting, Mike. And that's why they got to subscribe, Mike, because it's about to get hot. It's been a crappy season, but it is just getting started, Mike, with the buzz and everything, all things Browns. It's going to get hot in the streets here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. Boring December, exciting January. Wait for it.
And they need to like, subscribe, and share, Mike.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us this evening on a late edition of The Real. Please like, subscribe, and share if you like this content. It means a lot to us. We've gained a lot of new subscribers in a very short amount of time. We appreciate all of you for joining. And if you like this content and you share it, helps out the show a ton. Even getting a few more eyes on it helps us out. But yeah, we love you very much. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you for all who chatted in and whoever's going to leave a comment after the stream. Appreciate it.
Well said. Appreciate you guys just hanging out with us this late and this long. Sorry, we're going to go a little quicker, but Mike and I tend to go on tangents, especially me. But it's all good. So it was a great show. We appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, and share all the good stuff. And I'm saluted up out of here. Mike, what are you doing?
I'm by the lake, staring longingly out into the sea, thinking of my fallen sailor brethren.
Are you sure? Are you thinking about Tommy Rees?
That too.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. We're out of here.
Later.